of your valuable time with me and the class. I'm just going to ask you a few questions on a research that I'm working on, and this interview is a huge critical piece of that paper. So I'm just going to start with a few questions. The first one is, what are fire departments doing today to save the environment? What are the steps that they can take to go green? And I've seen this huge trend on electric vehicles, and the governments of California trying to phase out diesel vehicles, stuff like that. How is this going to affect the fire department? Please.
Sure. Yeah, Joshua, I appreciate that question. So I'll talk a little bit about the green technology in general and how there are a number of different avenues that the fire service has the ability, right, to be more environmentally friendly and to utilize green technology. And this is a quickly evolving point, an aspect of the fire service, because what's current today and what you're hearing about today as something in the future is all of a sudden here, and then now they're moving on to something different, right? So we're always looking to be at that competitive edge to do the best that we can. So when it comes to fire stations in Ontario and beyond, there's LEED designation, so Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So departments and cities have the ability, when they're designing fire stations, to seek this designation. In Cambridge, our most recent built Station 6 was designed and received a LEED designation, and it takes into consideration energy requirements, things like sustainability, HVAC efficiencies, location and transportation, where that station or where a facility may be built, water efficiencies, the materials and resources used to build the actual facility, indoor environmental quality, integrated process, and innovation. So it's a bit of a, like, it is an award, right? And it's something that you have to pay for and seek, and it's not like it's an easy thing necessarily. However, the idea is that these energy efficient stations will be able to see their investments paid back over time. So financially, but also there is a massive impact to the environment and long-term impact, right? Positive impact as well. So you mentioned vehicles and other technologies like that when it comes to green tech. So Brampton Fire was the first fire department in Ontario to seek and implement an electric fire truck. Other departments across Canada are doing this as well. And the idea is that a lack of combustion engine will reduce a firefighter's intake of carcinogens and the production into the environment. And so, you know, at a fire scene, you could be there at a fire for quite a while sometimes, and the truck needs to run. And if it's diesel fueled, then it needs to run for a long time, and the exhaust is constantly going to keep the pump going. And, you know, the truck can only be placed so far back, right, for efficiency away from the scene. So inevitably, in wind shifts and movements, firefighters are exposed at some point, right, to these, and they are going and feeding into the environment. Electric vehicles also offer an ability for reduced noise pollution. So the engines just aren't as loud as a diesel fuel-based combustion engine. And new truck designs are also, you know, it's a little beyond the green, but it's more of just this new tech philosophy. Better ergonomic advancements are being implemented, right? Which leads to maybe fewer injuries, fewer fatigue, you know, less fatigue on firefighters, ability to work longer, harder, and again, getting in and out of a vehicle, accessing equipment, all of these things are taken into consideration. So that's just some of the pieces. We also, you can talk about thermal imaging cameras and decreased use of disposable batteries, reusable, rechargeable batteries that last longer, screens that are more are clearer, equipment that lasts longer because of the new technology that's being implemented. So there's less wastage and less cycling out of and really trash, right? Things that end up in waste facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. The second question is a different topic. It's more to do about firefighter safety, their health concerns. How about technology in terms of their safety? Have firefighter cancer deaths come down compared to all the, well, because I know it was pretty high up in history because I learned in history class. Um, has there been any development in organic foams? Because I know that the ones are still dangerous to use for the environment. The AFF foam.
Yeah, so there are a number of foams that were used in the past that what were thought as safe, and I could do air quotes here, safe. Um, they're now realizing, and they've realized that there are long-term environmental impacts and potential health impacts if you're exposed to them, or again, ground contamination and brown soil, and now remediations are having to happen at sites that maybe foam was used. So I don't know the stats when it comes to whether firefighter cancers and where they're at and the trends and if they've come down. But I can talk about some of the, just an awareness of and the reduction of exposure to smoke toxins and other toxins in general that we want to always try and reduce to firefighters to improve safety for their lives. And again, this is leading to those reduced cancer rates and other diagnoses that we want to see. So Ontario has presumptive legislation for its full-time, part-time, and volunteer firefighters, providing that the prescribed cancers on this list are occupational diseases, and they're presumed to occur due to the nature of a firefighter's employment or a fire investigator, right? Unless some contrary is shown. So it's presumed, right, which is good. And this includes, I believe it's 17 cancers right now. And when we think about, well, why did they develop this presumptive legislation? It's because of the rates of diagnoses that were being seen, and carcinogens. We know where carcinogens come from, and when it's understood that they come from fires and from these synthetic materials, and firefighters are the ones that are highly exposed to them and often exposed to them, then it just the correlation was very easy to make. So we had the backing through legislation and a lot of lobbying by firefighters, fire departments, fire unions, to be able to make this happen through legislation. So reduced exposure to diesel exhaust from apparatus is one way that we can reduce, and hopefully lower that diagnosed cancer rate. Clean and care of PPE and SCBA. So things are going back dirty, and the off-gassing that can happen that you don't see, it's these invisible factors, right, that are still contributing. Washing, making sure that firefighters wash after every fire as soon as possible, and that it's not lingering. And we know there's high point absorption areas around the body, right? The neck, groin, armpits. So some of these key points, but again, just overall in general, washing as soon as you can, storing your PPE properly to prevent contamination, so that if it's beside where the fire trucks and apparatus are, and if you don't have an air capture exhaust capture system or an aeration cleaning system, again, the accumulation of other particulates on the SCBA maybe, or in the bunker gear, break it down quicker and you don't realize it, or it reduces its ability to protect the firefighter and heat and from other toxins as well. Or when somebody's wearing it and it has the toxins on and it's actually on the inside of the layer and they're in a fire now and it gets superheated and it almost like pressure cooks a firefighter, where it would they'd be more apt to absorb any of those carcinogens that were already on the inside, unrelated to the fire that they're in. And then another key point is regular medical checks with a doctor. So have a medical surveillance program of your own. Many fire departments are doing this, and they have guidance on how often and what could be checked, or you almost have a what to ask your doctor sheet or what to bring to them. So because sometimes it may be a doctor's, you may be their only firefighter patient and they're not aware of some of these things. You almost have to do a little bit of education and just have an open conversation with them. Increased risk for firefighters today, we're seeing this more and more, is related to modern home construction and the contents. So many of which are synthetics, and we know produce some nasty stuff when they're on fire. And then it's this inhalation and absorption. So wearing a pack and SCBA that's been properly fitted and under, again, positive pressure, hopefully none of the bad things are getting in past this seal of your mask, but anytime, or if you go outside and you take your mask off and you're still off gassing and you've got your gear on, you're still inhaling it now.
Mr. Clarke, thank you so much for answering all those questions. I think, class, you heard from our CTO clerk, Mr. Keith. Thank you for your time. I hope it's definitely been helpful to me, and I hope it'll be helpful to all of us that was hearing. Yeah, that's all. Thank you for your time. And Mr. Clarke, you wanted to say that the disclaimer, which we forgot.
Sure, yes, that's right. Yeah. Joshua, I appreciate being included in this project for yourself, and I always welcome these opportunities. And as a disclaimer, everything that was said is my own personal opinions and no representation of the Cambridge Fire Department. So just make sure that's understood.
Thank you for your time. And that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Take care.